Heartwarming truth exposed, Millionaire discovers incredible bond between Maid and his daughter. In the quiet suburban streets of Maplewood, whispers of scandal filled the air, sending ripples through the community. Robert Whitman, a 45-year-old tech magnate with wealth reaching the sky, lived in a mansion that loomed over the rest of the neighborhood like a castle. But inside those cold walls, something was amiss. While his bank account overflowed, his heart felt empty, especially when it came to his 10-year-old daughter, Lily. She wandered the echoing halls of her home, her laughter often drowned out by the silence that hung around Robert. A distraction with harmful roots, his work consumed him, leaving him unaware of Lily's longing gaze and unmet needs. That was until Maria entered their lives. A spirited maid from a humble background, her infectious laughter brightened the shadows of Robert's crumbling family. Maria understood struggle, she felt it in her bones. But with every cookie shared and bedtime story read, she poured warmth into Lily's world like a ray of sunshine breaking through the clouds. It was during those sacred moments when they baked cookies, flour flying through the air, or when whispers of secrets danced under twinkling fairy lights that a bond blossomed into something beautiful. Each giggle brought a glimmer of hope to the tiny heart aching for connection in a mansion that felt like a prison. As Robert buried himself deeper into his work, oblivious to the growing relationship, he was blind to the vibrancy that filled the space whenever Maria was around. Lily's eyes sparkled with joy. But then came a moment that shattered their fragile bliss. One afternoon, Robert walked into the kitchen to find them amidst a baking disaster, laughter spilling from their lips like the flour across the counter. A pang of jealousy twisted inside him. Who was this woman to take his daughter away? In a fit of anger, he forbade Maria from spending any more time with Lily. What about my cookies? Lily's voice trembled as tears filled her eyes, split between two figures she loved. That confrontation rattled the very core of their family, creating a rift that threatened to tear them apart. Suddenly, the mansion felt even emptier, echoing with the weight of unspoken words and unresolved feelings. Just as despair enveloped them, a violent storm hit Maplewood, throwing their lives into chaos. Maria's own family was hit hard, and suddenly, the implications of class and status felt utterly trivial. Watching his community rally around Maria, giving aid to those in need, Robert couldn't ignore the truth any longer. As his heart began to soften, he was confronted by an unexpected realization about his past, a secret that could change everything. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the storm raged outside, Robert stood at a crossroads. The warmth of the community enveloped him like a comforting blanket, but the ghosts of his past darkened his heart. Would he stand aloof in his fortress of wealth, or was something more profound waiting for him if he embraced the authentic connections blossoming around him? With every choice weighing heavily, nothing would be the same again, and the longing for redemption simmered just beneath the surface, urging him to break free. Could he dare to let go of his fears? In the eye of the storm, their story was only beginning, leaving Robert a father, a businessman, a man caught between what was, and what could be. The sun peeked through the remnants of clouds the next morning, casting a fragile light across the wet landscape of Maplewood. Robert stood by the window, his hands resting on the cool glass, eyes scanning the aftermath of the storm. He could see the neighbors working together, pulling debris from yards and clearing flooded streets. There was no denying it, the community's spirit shone brighter than any dollar he had ever earned, yet, amid the chaos, one figure stood out: Maria. She was helping others, her smile radiant as she comforted an elderly neighbor while carrying boxes of supplies. It struck Robert like a lightning bolt. She had a gift, a way of connecting with people that he hadn't experienced in years, perhaps never really had. He felt a pang of guilt. With his last words ringing in his ears, he realized that he had pushed away the very person who brought happiness to his daughter. The realization made his heart ache. Could he really be so distant, so wrapped up in his own world, that he couldn't see the joy in front of him? With resolve building inside him, Robert turned away from the window. After a quick shower and a hasty breakfast, he stepped outside, the fresh air filling his lungs like a new beginning. He made his way down the street, where neighbors tended to one another like family. Every greeting, every laugh felt like a warm embrace. "Hey, Robert!" called out a familiar voice. It was Tom, his neighbor. "Join us, man. We're all pitching in to help restore things around here." The invitation felt genuine, yet Robert hesitated. He wanted to join them, but the memories of isolation and his determined focus on wealth loomed over him. "Thanks, Tom. I need to find someone first," he replied, forcing a smile. "All right, man. You know where to find us." Tom waved, disappearing back into the bustle. Robert clutched his keys tighter, breathing deeply. He walked toward Maria's house, the urgency in his steps growing. He had to make things right not just for himself but for Lily, too. When he reached her modest home, he knocked lightly. The door swung open, and there she stood, her hair dampened by the morning's humidity. For a moment, they just stared at each other, an unspoken understanding weaving between them. But the weight of the previous day hung heavy in the air. "Robert?" Maria's voice was soft, uncertain. "Can we talk?" he finally said, words spilling out unfiltered. "About?" she prompted, crossing her arms. "About what I said yesterday. I was wrong. You've done so much for Lily, for me." He took a hesitant step forward, the gravity of his admission pressing on him. "I want to learn from you and I need your help." Her expression softened, just slightly, but he could see the confusion still flickering in her eyes. "I don't know if that's possible, Robert. You made it clear you wanted me gone." "I know," he rushed. "But I was scared. And I'm sorry. I think I finally understand how important you are not just for Lily, but for our family. I can't keep hiding from what really matters." A small, hesitant smile broke through Maria's guarded expression. "You're serious, aren't you?" "Absolutely." Before another word could bind them in uncertainty, Robert made his offer clear. "Will you come back? Help me reconnect with Lily? I can't do this alone." Maria's gaze locked onto his, searching for sincerity. The seconds between them stretched painfully, waiting for her answer. And then the distant laughter of children echoed from behind him, pulling at Robert's heart. Would he be able to mend what was broken in time? "All right," Maria whispered finally, a flicker of hope flashing across her face. "But you have to be willing to meet me halfway." As relief washed over him, Robert nodded, realizing the journey truly began here. Together they would right the wrongs, but what other truths awaited them in the process? With the promise of change echoing in his heart, both inside and out, Robert stared at the path ahead. Could he really embrace this new future? The questions lingered, leaving the weight of uncertainty still pressing on his chest. But for the first time in a long time, hope glimmered just beyond the storm. The morning grew warmer as Robert and Maria stepped out of her house, the air alive with the scents of wet grass and fresh blooms. The storm had stripped away the facade of normalcy, revealing a community knit together by mutual support. As they walked back toward town, side by side, Robert felt a sense of camaraderie blossoming within him. This was the spirit of Maplewood he had overlooked for too long. "Do you want to do something specific today?" Maria asked, her eyes sparkling with a balance of readiness and curiosity. "I just want to help," he said. "Show me what you do." She smiled, and with each step, Robert felt the ice around his heart start to melt. They approached a park that had become a gathering place for those in need. People were huddled together, sharing supplies and stories. The sight tugged at Robert's heartstrings. "See that table?" Maria pointed to a group unloading bags of food. "They need help sorting everything. Let us jump in." He nodded, feeling compelled to contribute. As they began organizing donations, laughter floated around them. Children played nearby, and he spied Lily on a swing, her face alight with joy as she twirled through the air, free from worry. "Look at her," Robert said, glancing at Maria. "I want to preserve this for her. I want her to feel safe and loved." Maria met his gaze, her expression deepening with understanding. "It starts with being present, Robert. You can't give what you're not willing to share." That hit him deep. He hadn't been present enough, not for himself or for his family. Each carton he lifted was like a weight lifted from his conscience, a small act of rebuilding. Hours passed, and Robert began to feel a sense of warmth grow within him, partly from the effort, but more from his reconnection with Maria. They exchanged smiles, shared stories about their childhoods, and even laughed over shared mischiefs, but as the sun dipped lower, a sudden commotion caught Robert's attention. A few neighbors were gathered by the park's entrance, faces twisted in concern. He felt Maria tense beside him. They both moved closer, sensing something was off. "What happened?" Robert asked a woman in the crowd. "It's Mrs. Thompson. She fell," the woman said, her voice trembling. "She's hurt." Panic coursed through him. He had known Mrs. Thompson for years, a sweet lady who adored Lily. Without thinking, he pushed through the crowd, instincts taking over. He needed to help. As they reached her side, Robert dropped beside Mrs. Thompson, the sight of her pale face sending a chill through him. "Can you hear me? We're going to get you help." As he spoke, he felt Maria's presence beside him, a calming force amidst the turmoil. "Do you know what happened?" she asked gently, kneeling on the other side of Mrs. Thompson, holding her hand. "I tripped, just lost my balance," Mrs. Thompson whispered, tears pooling in her eyes. "I'm so embarrassed." "Don't be," Robert said firmly, his own heart racing. "Accidents happen. We're here now." While waiting for an ambulance, he held her hand, his mind swirling between anxiety and newfound determination. He realized that this was the kind of connection he had been missing. This was family, community. This was everything that mattered. "I'm sorry for what I said yesterday," he muttered, half to himself, half to Maria. "I was so focused on everything else, I forgot how to care." "You're learning," Maria replied softly, giving him a reassuring nod. With sirens drawing closer, Robert's heart pounded, but he felt a sense of purpose wrapped around him like a warm blanket. Maybe this was the start he needed, not just for himself but for the entire family he wanted to rebuild. As the flashing lights reflected off the trees, he looked at Maria, her eyes steady and resolute. "Thank you for being here." "Always," she assured him, and in that moment, he knew they were about to embark on a journey together that could redefine everything. But as the crowd thinned and emergency responders took over, Robert noticed Lily standing a few feet away, her expression full of worry. Would she understand the changes he was trying to embrace? In that moment, he knew he had more than just community to reconnect with, he had to mend his bond with his daughter, too. Would she accept him back into her world? The question hung heavily in the air, pulsing with uncertainty as the sun dipped below the horizon. Robert's heart pounded as he turned, looking for Lily. She stood there, her little fingers intertwined, uncertainty etched on her face. The golden light of dusk highlighted her downturned mouth, and tears threatened to spill from her big brown eyes. Just a moment ago, he felt connected. Now, that connection felt frail, like a thread ready to snap. "Lily!" he called, his voice breaking through the murmurs of the crowd. "It's okay, honey. Mrs. Thompson will be just fine. We're helping her." But Lily didn't move closer. She just stared, confusion swirling in her gaze. Was she frightened? Annoyed? Or perhaps she was still grappling with the remnants of his earlier distance. Every moment apart had built a wall. He felt the heaviness of it now, pressing down on him. He knelt on the grass, lower than her stature, and opened his arms. "Come here, sweetheart." Slowly, she approached, darting glances at the gathering of concerned neighbors. Her small frame hesitated, then she fell into him, her little body trembling against his chest. Robert wrapped his arms around her, a rush of warmth flooding through him. This moment mattered so much. He wanted to tell her how important she was, how much he missed being there for her. "Dad, I thought you were mean to Mrs. Thompson," she whispered, her voice muffled through his shirt. "I was scared." A pang of guilt struck him hard. "I know I can be hard to understand sometimes. But I'm trying to change. I just want you to be safe, happy and loved." Lily pulled back slightly, searching his face for sincerity. "You really mean that?" "Yes," he said, feeling a new resolve settle in his chest. "I promise. I want us to be a family again, to be close. Not just when things go wrong, but all the time." Maria stood nearby, watching him with a faint smile. That simple gesture filled him with confidence. He could do this. He could reconnect with his daughter. "Okay," Lily nodded, her brow furrowing in contemplation. "Can we go to the ice cream shop after this? Mrs. Thompson said she always gets some on hot days." "Absolutely. We'll make it a tradition," he replied, the thought of slowly mending their relationship igniting a flutter of hope within him. Just then, the ambulance arrived, sirens fading as the paramedics hopped out, rolling a stretcher toward Mrs. Thompson. The crowd parted, everyone eager for news of the elderly lady who had always taken the time to know each child by name. Robert watched with a mix of urgency and relief, knowing that she was in good hands now. "Let us cheer her on," he said, nudging a nervous Lily. "She needs our support right now." As they clapped for Mrs. Thompson, Robert felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. The community surrounding them was alive and vibrant, like the flowers blooming in spring. A little piece of his heart opened, embracing that warmth as he witnessed the heart of Maplewood beating strong, but amid the applause, Robert noticed an uneasy look cross Maria's face. Was there more she wanted to say? "Everything will be all right," he reassured her, but deep inside, a seed of doubt lingered. What if this willingness to open up backfired? Would the effort be enough? As the flashing lights dimmed, he realized that while he could fix his relationship with Lily, there were still shadows of the past to confront. And as Maria exchanged glances with him, he knew another step on this path lay ahead. Would it be just as fulfilling? Or would it expose deeper scars they had yet to heal? Lily's laughter cut through the tension like a ray of sunshine breaking through clouds. "Look, Dad, they're taking Mrs. Thompson away," she exclaimed, her worry momentarily forgotten as she pointed toward the ambulance. Robert smiled, feeling a flicker of warmth in his chest. He followed her gaze, watching the paramedics carefully lift Mrs. Thompson onto the stretcher, her frail form cocooned in blankets. The crowd murmured encouraging words, a harmonious chorus of hope. In that moment, he understood what community really meant. Everyone had a role to play, and together, they were stronger. As the ambulance doors closed, Robert crouched down to meet Lily's eyes directly. "Are you okay now?" She nodded, her innocence shining through the remnants of worry. "Can we go, please?" "The ice cream." The excitement in her tone was like an open door waiting to be walked through. "Absolutely." He stood up, giving her a gentle nudge as they began to walk away from the crowd. They strolled down the gravel path, the sun dipping lower in the sky, painting everything in warm hues of orange and pink. "You know," he started, trying to keep the conversation light, "I think Mrs. Thompson would love to know that we're carrying on her tradition. What flavor are you thinking for our first ice cream date?" "Mint chocolate chip," she chirped, energy spilling from her small frame as her hands flopped with excitement. "And maybe sprinkles." "Sprinkles it is," he said, chuckling at her eagerness. As they approached the ice cream shop, he felt a strange mix of emotions, a sense of normalcy he had missed for far too long. Inside, the cool air welcomed them, a sweet aroma of waffle cones swirling around as they stood in line. The walls were adorned with family photos, laughter captured in moments, children enjoying ice cream like it was the best thing in the world because for many, it was. Lily bounced on her toes, her brown eyes sparkling as she studied the flavors. Each choice seemed like a new adventure, a decision that made her world feel expansive and full. With each scoop the server piled on her cone, Robert felt his heart swell with pride and love. "Here you go." The server handed the cone to Lily, who immediately took a giant bite, her face lighting up with sheer joy. "Yum!" she squealed, her mouth full of creamy goodness, a glob of ice cream threatening to slip. "Slow down." Robert laughed, playfully rolling his eyes. "We wouldn't want a disaster before we really get into the fun." As they settled into a corner table, he watched Lily savor each bite, and for the first time in ages, he felt that flicker of something deep inside, a connection not only with her, but with the man he used to be, the father she deserved. "Dad," she said, licking her cone thoughtfully. "Are you really going to be better? Like, all the time?" Her question crashed into him like a wave. The darkness of their past loomed large, but the light from today sparkled with promise. "I'm trying, sweetheart. Every day. For you." "Well, I believe you," she said with a serious nod, her fingers sticky with melted ice cream. "I just want us to have fun together." "Then let us make a pact," he proposed, feeling a new determination. "We'll have more ice cream dates, go on adventures, and make memories. No more pretending. Just us." Lily grinned, her smile as bright as the sun. "Deal." As they clinked their cones together, Robert felt lighter, as if the burdens of yesterday were slipping away, at least for this moment. But just as that bliss settled beneath the surface, a text buzzed in his pocket. He glanced down. It was from Maria, a message tinged with urgency. "We need to talk. Tonight." His heart sank, a storm cloud gathering overhead. Why now, when he felt so close to his daughter? "Everything okay, Dad?" Lily asked, sensing his change in demeanor. "Yeah, honey," he replied, crafting a smile. But inside, uncertainty churned. Was he really ready for what was coming? As they left the shop, the reality of the evening weighed heavily on him. What would Maria reveal? Would it disturb the fragile peace he had just built with Lily? Only time would tell, but one thing was clear, the journey ahead was layered with both hope and shadows that needed to be confronted. And as they walked home together, a single thought echoed in his mind. What truths lay before him that might redefine everything he thought he knew about family? The walk home felt longer than usual, the setting sun casting elongated shadows that merged with the silent tension in Robert's chest. He caught Lily's laughter on the wind, a beautiful sound that tugged at his heartstrings, but each chuckle reminded him of the uncertainty ahead. It was a delicate balance, trying to maintain their newfound joy while grappling with the impending conversation with Maria. "Hey, tell me about your best ice cream adventure," Robert prompted, redirecting both their minds from the shadows creeping in. "Okay." Lily's eyes sparkled, delight flooding her voice. "So, once when we were at the fair, I got a gigantic scoop of rainbow sherbet, and there was." He listened intently as she animatedly recalled every detail: the sticky hands, the way her friends laughed, and the silly balloon that floated away. Her stories, full of imagination and wonder, were like balm to his fraying nerves. As they approached home, the familiar sight of their little bungalow came into view, its worn shutters barely hanging on. It had seen better days, just like Robert, but this space was filled with memories, laughter, and love, and he intended to keep it that way. "Are you ready for dinner, or do you want more ice cream?" he asked, playfully winking. Lily giggled, "More ice cream for dinner." "Nice try." He laughed, gently ruffling her hair. The lightness settled between them for a moment, but his heart pounded, reminding him of the conversation that loomed ahead. They stepped inside, the comfortable smell of home washing over him. "Why don't you go wash your hands? I'll check our messages and see what Maria wants." "Okay, Dad," she chirped, skipping toward the bathroom. Robert moved to put his phone down on the kitchen table, blinking at Maria's text again as if pursuing hidden answers in plain sight. The weight in his gut intensified. What could be so urgent? Did it have to do with their past? The darkness he thought he was leaving behind, he took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. He didn't want to ruin the moment but also couldn't avoid what lay ahead. Lily returned, her small hands freshly washed, face still aglow from their sweet escapade. "Dad, can we get pizza tonight? Maybe we can make funny faces with the toppings." His heart warmed at her enthusiasm. "Pizza it is. But let us save some slices for later, so we have room for dessert." "Dessert after dinner." She cheered, clapping her hands, oblivious to the unease settling back in. As he pulled out the ingredients for their homemade pizzas, Robert's mind was still trapped in that text, the battle between hope and doubt escalating within him. Could he really muster the courage to face whatever news Maria was about to share? "Dad?" Lily's innocent voice broke through his thoughts. "Why do you look worried?" He turned to find her staring up at him, big eyes filled with concern. In that moment, he felt the weight of his past meet the bright promise of their future. "I'm just thinking about being brave," he admitted, the truth escaping before he could filter it. "Brave like a hero?" she asked, tilting her head. "Exactly like a hero," he replied, smiling at her. "Sometimes heroes have tough conversations, but they do it so they can keep their families safe." Lily nodded, her little brow furrowed in thoughtful contemplation. "Okay, then. You can be my hero, Dad. I believe in you." Her faith tugged at his heart, filling him with resolve. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore, it was for her. "Thank you, sweetheart. That means the world to me." He glanced briefly outside, scanning the yard as if it held answers. The air felt thick, and the chill from impending decisions loomed deeper. Just as he opened his mouth to say more, the doorbell rang, echoing in the quiet. Startled, he shifted back to reality. Who could that be? His heart raced in sync with the urgency rising in his chest. "Who is it, Dad?" Lily asked, peeking around his side. "I don't know." He walked to the door, hesitating before he turned the knob. Whatever awaited on the other side could change everything again, and the feeling of unease intensified. As he opened the door, anticipation crackled in the air. What lay beyond could either bind their family closer or shatter the fragile peace they'd begun to build. And in that pause, he realized, stepping into the unknown was the true essence of being a hero. Was he ready to face whatever truth awaited? The door creaked open slowly, revealing a figure from Robert's past he never expected to see again. Maria stood there, her expression a mix of urgency and resolve. The soft sunlight behind her silhouetted her, creating an almost ethereal glow around her. Yet, all Robert could see were the familiar lines of tension on her face, the very lines that reminded him of shared struggles, heartbreak, and unspoken words. "Maria," he breathed, the name heavy with unprocessed emotions. "What are you doing here?" She stepped inside, glancing at Lily, who was still lingering by the kitchen counter, her curious eyes darting between them. "I had to talk to you," Maria said quietly, closing the door behind her with a soft click that seemed to echo the sudden gravity in the room. "About what?" Robert felt his defenses rising, heart pounding against his ribs. Had he misjudged this moment? Was this the confrontation he had dreaded, or was it something different, perhaps a chance at clarity? "Please, can we talk privately?" she asked, glancing back at Lily, who was now focused intently on sewing pepperoni slices into a perfect smiley face on her pizza. Robert nodded, doing his best to mask the turmoil within him. "Sure, let us step outside." They moved to the porch, where the gentle rustle of leaves attempted to drown out the weight in the air between them. Once outside, he could finally breathe. Yet, the cool evening wind contrasted sharply with the heat of anxiety coursing through him. "Robert," Maria began, her voice unsteady, "there have been some things I've been carrying. Things we need to face." He clenched his jaw, bracing himself for whatever storm she was about to unleash. "What do you mean?" "It's about Lily." The way she said his daughter's name sent a jolt through him. "I didn't want to come back like this, but I think you deserve to know the truth. And so does she. The world seemed to close in, the air stilling around him. What truth? The sudden intensity of the question surprised even him. Maria took a breath, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. She hesitated, as if weighing her words. I've been doing some digging. You remember how we thought our past was behind us? How we thought we had moved on? Yeah, of course, but what does that have to do with Lily? Robert's heart raced, the beat echoing in his ears. Maria looked away for a moment, then back at him, intensity igniting her gaze. I've discovered some connections, Robert. Connections that link our families, that could change everything you know about her, about us. Stop, just stop. The words left Robert's mouth before he could stop them. You can't just drop this on me. What do you mean? The autumn chill cut through the tension, but he was too consumed with confusion. Lily has a right to know, Robert. Her voice, though firm, carried a note of desperation. There's a bond deeper than what we ever realized. One that could change her life, maybe even yours. He staggered back a step, his mind racing through 1,000 possibilities and fears. You need to explain yourself, Maria. I can't keep doing this dance. I won't put Lily through any more chaos. With a sharp intake of breath, she steadied herself before continuing. I'm not here to cause chaos. I'm here to protect her future, even if it means confronting our past. In that moment, Robert felt torn between wanting to shout and the desperate need to listen. His heart hammered like a drum, drowning out the thoughts swirling around in his head. The door to their past swung wide, revealing the shadows he thought he'd left behind. What could be so shocking that it threatened everything he believed about his little girl and his own identity? Please, Maria said softly, tears spilling over, just let me explain. There's so much you don't know. He opened his mouth to respond, but all that came out was a shaky breath. Could he truly face the truth that lay hidden in their past? And more importantly, could that truth bring his family closer or tear them apart irrevocably? As Maria began to speak, Robert understood one thing: his journey into the unknown was only just beginning. What secrets was she about to unveil? The air felt thick as Robert tried to steady his racing heart. He stared into Maria's eyes, searching for some semblance of clarity. Her gaze held both regret and a fierce resolve, and he noticed the tiny tremor in her hands. Go on, Maria, he urged, his voice barely above a whisper. I need to know. She exhaled, the breath escaping her like a released balloon. Lily, there are things about her lineage, about her family history, that I didn't realize until recently. Things that tie us all together in ways we never understood. Robert's brow furrowed. What kind of things? You're scaring me. Maria took a step forward, invading the space between their fear and uncertainty. When we were together, I never told you everything about my family. I didn't want to drag you into my past, she said, her words tumbling out like a desperate confession. But now, after going through old documents, talking to people, I found connections to yours. I didn't want to believe it at first, but it's clear. Robert shook his head, frustration bubbling up. What does that even mean? Just come out with it. She swallowed hard, emotion filling her voice. Lily, she is more than just your daughter. There's a blood connection that I never thought possible. Someone from my family knew someone from yours, a long time ago. I think it could explain a lot about her. His chest tightened at her words, a mix of disbelief and confusion spiraling through him. You think our families are connected through blood? Are you saying yes? Maria interrupted, determination flashing in her eyes. We thought we were just moving on, leaving the past behind. But it turns out our past is haunting us in ways you can't imagine. Lily deserves to know who she really is, her roots, and yes, maybe even a legacy that's tied to both our families. Silence enveloped them, wrapping around Robert like an unseasonable winter chill. Memories surged through his mind: Maria's laughter, their dreams of a future that never came to be, the little girl who brought light into his life. But could any of them truly be connected by something so profound? "Are you sure about this?" he asked, his voice trembling. "What if you're wrong? What if this messes up everything?" "Robert," she stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Think about it. Doesn't it make sense? All the questions you've had about Lily's health, her dreams, her quirks. What if they stem from something more than just chance? What if it's embedded in her very being?" He shook his head, fighting against the tide of possibilities she was unleashing. This felt like a train speeding down the tracks toward a cliff, and he was powerless to stop it. "You really think Lily deserves that? To have her life unspooled right before her eyes?" Maria's eyes glimmered with urgency, finally breaking. "I think she deserves the choice, Robert. To know her truth. To embrace whatever destiny is calling to her." Her sincerity weighed heavily on him. He couldn't shake the sense that they were on the cusp of something life-altering. He took a small breath, wrestling with the storm brewing inside. "What do we do now?" His voice softened, a hint of resignation in his tone. Maria wiped her eyes, determination flooding back. "We sit down with her. We tell her together. No more secrets. No more chaos. It's time for her to understand where she comes from." Chills raced down his spine, the enormity of her suggestion dawning upon him. Together? It felt daunting, yet something about it made him feel less alone. "Together," she repeated softly, a promise wrapped in hope. As they prepared to go back inside, Robert couldn't help but glance at the horizon, where the sun had begun to set. With each moment, uncertainty danced in his chest. Would the truth unite them or tear them apart? But one thing was crystal clear: the journey ahead would be as challenging as it was necessary. What would their past reveal? And would Lily be ready for the truth that could change her life forever? As they entered the house, the familiar sounds of laughter from Lily sent waves of warmth through Robert's heart. But the reality of what lay ahead weighed heavily in the pit of his stomach. Closing the door softly behind them, he exchanged a quick look with Maria. They both knew they were about to take the first step down a path that could forever change their little family. "Lily!" Robert called out, his voice trembling slightly. The laughter ceased, and a moment later, Lily came bounding into the living room, her eyes sparkling with innocent joy. She was so unaware of the storm brewing just beneath the surface, the truth sitting heavily on their shoulders. "Daddy!" she squealed, launching herself at him. Robert caught her in a tight embrace, inhaling her sweet scent as he fought to keep his composure. He wanted to shield her from the tangled mess that was about to unfold, but he knew that wasn't fair. "Not anymore. Hey, sweetheart. Maria and I need to talk to you about something important, okay?" His voice filled with a mix of tenderness and anxiety. He pulled back to meet her curious gaze. "Okay." Lily chirped, settling onto the couch, her little legs swinging back and forth. She had no clue that her world was about to shift. Maria took a deep breath, glancing at Robert for reassurance. He nodded, and she continued, "Lily, honey, there is something we both want you to know about your family history." The girl tilted her head, her expression shifting from happy to confused. "What do you mean? Is someone coming for a birthday party?" A pang of sadness shot through Robert at the innocence of her question. This wasn't about celebrations. "No, sweetie, this is about who you are and where you come from," he said, kneeling in front of her. "You see, Maria and I found out that our families have a history together. A long time ago, someone in Maria's family actually knew someone in mine." Lily's brow furrowed as she processed his words. "But how? And why does that matter?" "It matters because," Maria hesitated, searching for the right words that would soften the blow but not shy away from the truth. "It means you have roots, Lily. Not just with us, but with people you've never even met. It connects us all in a way we didn't realize before." Robert could see the gears turning in her mind. "So, I'm not just me. There's more. Yes. Exactly. Maria smiled gently, relieved that Lily was still engaged. You're part of something bigger. Something beautiful, really. It might help explain some of the things that make you you. But what does that mean for me now? Lily's voice trembled, her innocence giving way to a hint of anxiety. It means we want you to know your history, Robert interjected, holding her hands tightly, grounding her. We want you to have the choice, to see that you have a legacy. It's a journey we can take together. Robert's heart raced. As he looked into Lily's wide eyes, he hoped she could grasp the magnitude of this moment. It was more than just information, it was about identity, belonging, and the unbreakable bonds that tied them all together. Together, Lily echoed, the weight of the word wrapping around them like a cozy blanket. Yes, sweetheart. Together, Maria reassured, her voice steady. We'll explore this together. You'll never have to face it alone. Lily's expression shifted, uncertainty flickering across her face. But what if it's scary? Robert squeezed her hands tighter. It might be, but we'll handle it. We're a family, and families support one another, no matter what. As Robert spoke, his heart tightened. Would they have what it takes to handle what was coming? Could they embrace their tangled past and turn it into something positive for Lily? Just then, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen, puncturing the tense atmosphere. He glanced toward the sound, his heart pounding. Was it a sign of chaos to come, or could it be the first step toward discovering unity in their fragmented lives? Let us go check, Maria said, standing from the couch, her gaze switching to the kitchen. With one last look at Lily, whose eyes held a mix of fear and anticipation, Robert felt the knot in his stomach twist. Whatever awaited them, it was clear there was no turning back now. The truth was about to come knocking once again. In the soft light of the living room, Robert stood in front of Lily and Maria, his heart racing as the moment they anticipated finally arrived. It had taken weeks of finding courage, of rebuilding trust, and now they were on the brink of unveiling everything. But just as life often does, it threw them a curveball. The noise from the kitchen escalated, a cascade of clattering pots reverberated through the air, a cacophony that made everyone jump. The tension in the room snapped like a tight string, and Robert rushed toward the kitchen, his heart pounding in a rhythmic dance between worry and urgency. Dad, wait! Lily called out as she jumped off the couch. Once in the kitchen, he halted, eyes wide with shock. There lay a mess of ingredients scattered across the floor, flour curling up in clouds, tomatoes rolling like errant marbles. Maria followed closely behind. What happened? She asked, also taken aback, and then he saw it, his clumsy attempt at making homemade pizza was now a disaster. But nestled amid the havoc was a familiar face peeking out from behind a counter. Lily giggled as she swept aside a paper towel, revealing herself in the mess, a tomato slice perched comically on her head. Lily. Robert couldn't help but shake his head, laughter bubbling to the surface despite the chaos. What are you doing? I was trying to help. She exclaimed, throwing her hands up dramatically and sending flour into the air. It billowed around her like a soft cloud, and Robert felt warmth stir within him. This was it. This beautiful mess was the light they needed, a reminder that even amidst chaos, joy persisted. Maria chuckled softly, her eyes sparkling with delight. Well, you did create a masterpiece, that's for sure, she admitted. The lightness in her tone eased some of the tension, bringing a sense of levity back to the moment. I know how to make it better. Lily exclaimed, her little voice breaking through the laughter. Let's make it a family creation. Robert's heart swelled. That's a fantastic idea. Let us do it together. He grabbed some remaining dough and wiped off the mess from the counter, motioning for Maria to join. The laughter and chaos quickly transformed into an impromptu pizza-making party, thrumming with energy and excitement. In that moment, Robert realized, this is what family felt like, embracing imperfections, creating together, celebrating the everyday chaos. Over the next few minutes, they kneaded the dough, layered it, and then topped it with colorful vegetables, cheese, and, of course, A few well-placed sprinkles of lily pad-shaped pepperoni. With each silly design they created, Robert felt a tightness in his chest loosen. The walls that had once pinched around his heart began to melt away, and then, as they waited for the pizza to bake, Robert turned to Maria, who was covered in flour, a radiant smile plastered across her face. This was where he wanted to be with her. The truth, regardless of how heavy it felt, had already begun setting them free. "Can we finish that talk?" He turned serious, his voice thoughtful as he gestured toward Lily, who was busy at the table. "We can't just hide from it." "I know," Maria replied softly, her eyes reflecting the warmth of the moment. "But let us wait until after dinner. If we're in this together, we handle it together just like the pizza." His heart swelled with affection. She understood. They were building something new, a partnership woven from understanding and shared experiences both past and present. When dinner was finally ready, they seated themselves at the table, the masterpiece at the center capturing the joy of the evening. But the weight of their conversation still lingered, or perhaps it was merely a flicker of anticipation for what lay ahead. As they dug into their creation, conversations flowed easily. Laughter circled around the kitchen, and with every bite, they felt like a family piecing together their narrative, a beautiful tapestry woven from laughter, love, and a sprinkle of uncertainty. Eventually, as the plates emptied, Robert turned to Lily once again. "Are you ready to hear the rest?" His heart raced, but confidence filled his voice. Lily nodded, her small face earnest. "Yes. I want to know everything." He exchanged a glance with Maria, both of them recognizing the significance of this moment. "Okay, then. But remember, you'll always have us. No matter what you hear." She balanced her chin on her little hand, listening intently as Maria began, explaining the tangled roots of their families. Each word woven carefully, each revelation shaped by compassion and a promise of love. As the night unfolded, they realized the truth wasn't just a burden. It wasn't something that would tear them apart. It could bind them closely, illuminating the love that had always been there, waiting beneath the chaos. With every confirmation of their connection, Lily's eyes widened not with fear, but with wonder. It was an invitation to embrace her identity. And in that moment, they all recognized the most important truth of all: family isn't just about bloodlines, it's about love, and love can be rebuilt, even from the remnants of disarray. As they finished sharing stories into the late hours, the laughter echoed, seeping into the walls of their home like a sweet song. The storm was behind them, finally yielding to the promise of new beginnings. In the tender heart of Maplewood, amidst the chaos, they found unity and connection, ready to take on whatever adventures life threw their way. With love wrapping around them like a warm embrace, Robert knew they were now a family stronger, closer, and ready to face the world together. Now, this is the moment. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of this community.